I'm talking to my diary. Talking to my diary. I'm 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 talking to my diary. All right, folks, so it's been a minute. It's been actually 2 months and 6 days since my last episode, which is somewhat ironic because in the previous episodes, I talked so much about wanting to build consistency, faithfulness, how I need to discipline myself, all of that great stuff. And then I fall off the wagon for 2 months and 6 days. What happened? Well, what had happened was, first and foremost, the last episode, episode 8, was released on September 1st. The next day, I recorded episode 9, went to release it, and the website that hosts my podcast, my website, talkintomydiary.com or something like that, crashed. It was done. It was gone. It was offline. So I had to ask my web admin to look into it, and it took him 2 weeks to get it back up and running again. He was able to get to the bottom of it. But that 2 weeks threw me off my game. And here we are, 2 months and 6 days later. However, I have had a realization, really 4 days ago on my birthday, my 46th birthday, which is November 3rd. I had a realization that hit me with the force of revelation. If you know me, this is obvious. It just wasn't obvious to me. What I realized on that day is that everything I do is a one-day project. Everything I do can be done in a day. I have no long-term projects. Everything is a one-day project, period. If I write a song, I write it in a day. When I go to record that song, I record it in a day. When I make a video, I make it in a day. If I prepare a sermon, I prepare it in a day. I preach a sermon, I preach it in a day. And people tell me all the time, you're so creative and you can do so many different things and you're a jack of all trades. And okay, that's true. And that encourages me when people say that. But what I realize, this is the problem. Now, okay, only doing day projects, that could be fine, depending on your dreams and your personality. It could be fine. Maybe that's just who I am. Maybe that's just built in the structure of my personality. The problem is all of my dreams are big. None of my dreams can be done in a day. All of them would require faithfulness over a period of years, consistency over a period of years. So if I only had day-long dreams, then only doing one-day projects would be completely acceptable. But for me, it's incredibly frustrating to have long-term dreams, but only short-term bandwidth. So that means that I either need to change my dreams and simply accept this is who I am, or I need to get to the bottom of why I can only do these one-day projects. And as I've been meditating and reflecting and journaling on the subject, what I realize is that every day I'm racing against the clock. The moment I get inspiration to do anything, a burst of motivation, a burst of creative energy, I've got to do it immediately. Why? Because the moment I get that burst, the clock starts ticking. And when the clock runs out, my motivation is gone. When the clock runs out, my inspiration is gone. When the clock runs out, my creative energy is gone. That's how I experience it. But what I've come to realize is that in actuality, when the clock runs out, my hope runs out. There's this lie on the inside of me that I believed since I was a little boy. I started believing it somehow adapting to some situation, to some trauma. Who knows? I don't know when, where, why, how. But at some point, that little boy started believing that he could not do big things, that he could not do hard things, that he was only able to do easy things. And that little boy adapted to life by learning to expand his definition of easy. Things that were hard, he learns them and they become easy so that he could do them in a day. In other words, everything, whatever I am learning, and I do learn a lot of things, but whatever I am learning, the goal of learning is to be able to fit the task into a day. So if I can get to the bottom of this and somehow unlock that door in my heart or plug that hole in my heart that keeps me from believing that I can do long-term things, if I can break that, I can start to work on long-term projects. And if I could start working on long-term projects and be faithful to those long-term projects, the podcasts that I have, they're not long-term projects. They're all day projects. Every episode is, like even about the Benjamin podcast, every episode is recorded in a day. Every episode. And talking to my diary is even easier because literally there's no rehearsal, there's no script, there's no sitting down writing anything down, there's no editing. I just sit down and hit record, I talk, and when I'm done talking to my diary, I hit stop recording, and then I just put it out as is. I don't have to do anything to it. So talking to my diary is like the epitome of a short-term project for me. But what if, let's say I wanted to write a book, and I wrote 2 pages a day. Every 90 days, I'd have a new book. Every 90 to 120 days, I'd have a book. I have TV ideas, 3 of them. I've actually talked to some TV producers who have told me that those ideas are awesome. What if I just wrote for 30 minutes a day or an hour a day? I could have a pilot maybe in 3 to 6 months. I've got business ideas. I got all kinds of ideas, but they're big ideas. All of my ideas are big ideas. And so my work for this 47th year of my life is to break that lie, to get to the bottom of that limitation in myself. And it took me 46 years to realize that limitation is in myself. For some reason, there was this lack of self-awareness in this area, in this level, where I just believed that my situation and my circumstance has continually imposed this limitation on me. I don't have the time to work on those big things, but that's a lie. I don't have the hope. And so I have to learn how to build hope in my own heart through the establishment of safety and support, because that's where hope comes from. Go back to Abraham Maslow's hierarchy. You need food and shelter, and then you need safety and security. And then you need love and acceptance. And then you need self-confidence. And then you need self-actualization. I'm hungering for self-actualization, but my confidence breaks down because at a certain point, somehow that love and acceptance piece, my heart leaks it. And I've got more love around me than most human beings ever have in their lifetime. I am loved. When I say, I don't want to say there's a deficit of love and acceptance in my life, because there isn't. But for some reason, my heart can't hold on to it. And so when that hole opens up in my heart, my self-confidence breaks down and I lose hope. And I revert back to that lie that I'm a failure and I can't accomplish anything and so forth. So my whole life I've been racing against the clock. Everything I do. I remember even when I was in grad school and seminary and undergrad, everything was a last-minute project. Every paper I wrote in a night, the night before it was due. I waited until the night before it was due, and then I went to the library and came home with a stack of books at about 7 p.m. and stayed up all night with a pot of coffee, writing a research paper. And you do that a few times and it works. You start to think, this is the best way to do it, but it's not. I crammed for every test. I wrote every paper at the last minute. That's part of the reason why I was not able to finish my PhD, because you cannot cram a dissertation. I made it through the coursework, but I could not make it through the dissertation that way. And if I can break that at this point in my life, that'll change everything. So I'm going to keep you updated on this journey, this 47th year of my life. If I can get to the bottom of this, it'll change everything. It'll change everything. Thanks for letting me talk to my diary. Thanks for listening. Hope this in some way, shape, or form has encouraged and blessed your life. Hopefully, I'll see you tomorrow. Have a good one. I'm talking to my diary. Talking to my diary. I'm 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 talking to my diary.